basically, we'll just mix that and just go on because this is the same as where the heat's to back there, so we'll just go. We'll mix their heat, go through, and then just shutting it twice. Yeah. I'll tell. All right.
They're not doing really well.
We've made a decision.
I don't even.
We're not. I'm not assuming the same as we are. We're not.
Well, I used to
So we'll sing.
on like when Alan
We'll sing the beginning.
Sure.
But then we'll sing this before we go back. We won't do that. We'll just sing because it's kind of long. So we'll just do this.
and the industry itself.
And when we get to
What's on the field.
this beat, just don't
So
go back.
I don't support that, but the band, like they have a member
We're
in
just
the
gonna mix
marching
that.
band. You and I, she has her service for the marching.
So there are heat on the third
She was at another college, and I don't think they stayed at the college.
week. Then we're
She
not.
said I looked into, they were like.
The one where it goes back.
So it has a cape and it has a hat.
So we're just not.
Knows how to march around.
Yeah.
That's
And
pretty
of course,
good.
they
Because I know the slide.
for that one player is going to be, so it's not like really the dead,
Yeah.
appearance, but they kind of have it, so it's more on the edge.
And the ending.
Yeah. That would be the only reason I want to go up there is to see it until halftime and then go home, but it's not.
We're not going to do first beat and we are. So we're just. But the beginning and the ending one, so we're keeping the beginning twice. We'll sing through, don't go back to it. We're just
Oh,
going
okay, just go straight through.
Is that how the screen is?
Yes, which is my word. Yeah. So if you can tell the other
If you brought any pictures or mementos for the remembrance altar, you can bring them forward whenever you'd like.
I brought Reverend Trotsman.
The back is. In the marching band. He's a son. And he was playing football. But he just wasn't. So we went to CC the other day. We're still watching. It's now.
We will now sing our opening hymn, number 1003, Where Do We Come From? Where do we come from? What are we? Where are we going? Where do we come from? What are we? Where are we going? Where do we come from? Where do we come from? Mystery, mystery, life is a riddle and a mystery. Mystery, mystery, life is a riddle and a mystery. Where do we come from? Where are we going? Where do we come from? Where are we going?
Good morning. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Society. We are grateful to gather on this beautiful morning, both in person and online, for a time of inspiration, reflection, and connection. Whether you join us today with joy in your heart, weighted with burdens, or searching for meaningful connections, we are glad that you're here. If you brought a picture or any other items to put on our remembrance altar, please feel free to bring them forward now. I'm Bridget Laughlin, a ministerial intern here at the Unitarian Universalist Society. My pronouns are she, her. I am a short, fat, middle-aged woman with long brown hair, wearing glasses and a black and blue top, standing at UUS's pulpit at the front of our sanctuary. Our sanctuary and adjoining commons is filled with people. Through the window walls of our sanctuary, we connect to the natural world around us, where it is a crisp, sunny fall morning. As we gather, we give thanks for this land and all who have cared for it over the centuries, particularly the Kickapoo, the Iowa, the Sauk, the Meskwaki, and the Oceti-Sakowin nations. As people of many ages, genders, races, sexual orientations, classes, abilities, sizes, and health statuses, we know how important it is to come together and work together to create a radically welcoming community. As Unitarian Universalists, our faith expresses our core value of love through how we agree to be together to support each other. We are guided by shared principles, sources, and values of our living religious tradition. This morning, as we remember those who have gone before us, we will honor and explore our values of interdependence and transformation. The connections we make with others are some of the most beautiful ways of experiencing the sacred in our lives. Even when they are gone, our loved ones will always be with us. If doing something with your hands during worship helps you, we invite you to visit the soul work table outside the sanctuary doors and pick up something to work with. If you're newer to our congregation, we invite you to learn more about us after the service. For those here in person, you can talk to a greeter in the atrium. And for those online, there's a link to a visitor form in YouTube Notes that will let us connect with you. Our call to worship this morning is by Mark Bellatini. Ah, it's true. When our ancestors spoke of heaven, they were speaking of this moment. When they went on about nirvana, they imagined a time like this. When they sang of paradise, it was this morning they imagined. A time when all the mysteries of life and death are blended in a community of praise, when the bones of ancient lovers are given flesh again in our own bodies. Teachers of long ago, speaking of love and truth, once more in lives so ordinary, they are extraordinary. Blessed is our breath, in and out, quiet. Blessed is our sitting, our fidgeting, our movement. Blessed is our heartbeat echoing. The pounding alleluias of the distant stars. Blessed is the silence that is presence, not absence.
We will now sing hymn number 1001, Breaths. Please rise in body or in spirit. voices heard. 'Tis the ancestors' breath in the voice of the waters. Those who have died have never, never left. The dead are not under the earth. They are in the rustling breeze, they are in the groaning woods, they are in the crying grass, they are in the moaning rocks. The dead are not under the earth. So listen more often to things than to beings. Listen more often to things than to beings. 'Tis the ancestors' breath when the fire's voice is heard. 'Tis the ancestors' breath in the voice of the waters. Those who have died have never, never left. The dead are all packed with the living. They are in the woman's breast, they are in the wailing child. They are with us in our homes, they are with us in this crowd. The dead have a pact with the living. So listen more often to things than to beings. Listen more often to things than to beings. Ancestors' breath when the fire's voice is heard. 'Tis the ancestors' breath in the voice of the waters.
Good morning. I'm Marcia Cheney, a slightly shorter than average white woman with dark brown and purple hair, and one of your worship associates at the UUS. Unitarian Universalists light a flame within a chalice as a symbol of sanctuary, safety, and hope to unite us in our worship and to remind us of our ongoing search for the light of truth. As we prepare to light our chalice, I invite you to settle into this space and into your body. Make yourself comfortable. Take a deep breath. Take another. Let yourself arrive and open your spirit to this sacred time where we can reconnect and find some space for healing. I invite you to listen to these words by Sarah Eileen Lowell as Bridget lights our chalice. We take time to remember the ancestors' journey, lit by 1,000 stars. What wilderness taught them? Blessed art thou, O Lord. Trust in the path, celebrate with joy. What might the wilderness teach us? Where can we pray to our 1,000 stars to feel our own life's journey, lit from within? We take time to remember and to celebrate with joy. We light our chalice in honor of this celebration of journey, ancestors, and joy. Each week, we light a candle for justice and healing to acknowledge our interdependence with the natural world and with all members of the global community, especially the most vulnerable. We light this candle so that we may not be numbed to injustice and trauma, but rather find strength, courage, and love as we work in solidarity with others for liberation, justice, and healing. Together, we create resilience and hope. Today, as we light this candle, we're particularly mindful of those lost to war and other senseless violence, and also to those who have had a recent loss and may need a little extra care in this season. As I light this candle, let's hold a time of silence to listen to our hearts and our bodies, or perhaps to lift up prayers. Our congregation is made up of many people and of many communities. This morning, Diana Miller is here to share about how connecting to our ancestors through the UUS Historical Records team has impacted her.
Good morning. My name is Diana Miller. I'm a 75-year-old white lesbian woman, and I'm wearing a brightly colored long shirt and black slacks. My pronouns are she and her. This morning I am here representing the Historical Records Committee. Our mission is to preserve the stories of our UUS histories through histories, scrapbooks, board and committee minutes, long-range planning files, and financial records. Dating back to the 1840s, UUS has had many great storytellers. Bertha Shambaugh, Ruth Irish Preston, Mary Bell Glick, Jim Jacobson, Marilyn Genowes, Susan Eberly, and Jeanette Carter, to name but a few. I would like to share a couple of our stories. One of our storytellers, Ruth Irish Preston, descended from one of the original members of the Universalists who met in various log cabins. Her grandparents, Frederick and Elizabeth Irish, settled in Iowa in 1839 and built a brick farmhouse they called Rose Hill, located just east of Iowa City. In 1842, as part of the original Iowa Territorial Plan, the territorial legislature set aside several quarter blocks in central downtown locations to be deeded to any religious society which would agree to erect a permanent structure within 2 years. The Universalist Society of Iowa City received the second such grant and placed a wooden building at the corner of Iowa Avenue and Dubuque Street. Several of the, quote, Orthodox ministers protested the Universalists acquiring land and referred to us as infidels and unbelievers. For many years, the Universalists had the largest congregation of any of the churches in Iowa City. But by 1878, the congregation had dwindled and only held services when itinerant preachers could be enticed to visit. One such minister, Reverend Oscar Clute, convinced the American Unitarian Association to underwrite his initial salary as minister in Iowa City on the condition that he could use the Universalist church to preach in. By 1882, the congregation was thriving with new people, many attracted by Clute's Unitarian approach. The church formally changed denominational affiliations to become a member of the American Unitarian Association. Thus, the Iowa City Universalists and Unitarians joined forces decades before the 1961, when the Unitarians and Universalists merged nationally. One last story. A few years ago, Carmen and I took a class at the Senior Center on the Underground Railroad in Iowa City. The Quakers were well known to assist runaway slaves escape slavery. At the time, we both wondered, had the Universalists been involved in any way? Then several places in Iowa City that historians believe to be a part of the Underground Railroad were named. One of the places mentioned was none other than Rose Hill, the second home built by Frederick and Elizabeth Irish in 1849. It was located on Davenport Street, just south of their first home. I could now verify that Iowa City Universalists had owned a home on the Underground Railroad. A connection made and a mystery solved. I enjoy working on the Historical Records Committee because our stories are inspiring and powerful. I value the company of other committee members who are committed to the preservation of our rich history. If you're interested in learning and preserving our stories, please join us on the third Saturday from 10:30 to 1 in the conference room. Thank you.
Thank you, Diana. Where do we come from? What are we? Where are we going? These lyrics from our welcoming hymn this morning that we've been singing all month long, I think these questions pretty much sum up most of the reasons that church exists. These are the questions that have puzzled all of humanity throughout history. Humans have developed myths and stories, rituals and practices, religions and philosophies, and art of all forms to try to answer these questions. Where do we come from? What are we? Where are we going? Does anyone know where the words for that hymn came from? It is the title of a painting by Paul Gauguin in 1897. In Gauguin's own words, he considered this work of art a philosophical work on the theme comparable to the themes of the Gospels. So, we have put music to the title of a 125-year-old painting, which intended to portray a philosophy comparable to a 2,000-year-old holy text in order to make a modern secular hymn for Unitarian Universalism. Yeah, sounds like us. We do love to find new ways to state ancient things. But really, these questions are equally as new as they are ancient. They are born anew every time someone stares into the stars, or finds a fossil in the dirt, or experiences death. Where do we come from? Well, we come from the stars and the earth. We are physically made of minerals, of elements and atoms. We literally come from the building blocks of the universe around us. Throughout our existence, we gain and lose cells, creating and replacing them with the materials from the food that we eat, the water we drink, the air we breathe. We evolve based on the amount of sunlight we receive, the amount of water available, the quality of food we can find. The environment in which we live literally creates us and continues to form us. So where do we come from? What are we? We are matter, yeah, but we're also memory. Author George L. Lyons wrote a poem called Where I'm From. It begins with the line, I am from clothespins, from Clorox and carbon tetrachloride. It goes on to describe many of the sights, smells, people, and places that make up her memories when she was a child. The things and people who formed her into the person that she is. She reminds us that we are made up of an infinite number of experiences, from the smells of clean laundry, which transport me back to sitting by my mom while she folded clothes, to the taste of fresh raspberries, which transports me back to my grandmother's garden, and that preciously rare grin on my adult son's face, where I can see that mischievous kid that he used to be. The memories that belong to me alone and the memories I share with others, all of these memories have created me and made me into the person I am today. And we each have our own. And we gather together today in order to honor those we love who helped to make us who we are by creating those precious, precious memories. We are matter. We are memories. And that's not all. We are the product of generations upon generations of ancestors. The genetic material that makes up our DNA has been changed and combined and formed through the combining of the very essence of our parents and their parents and their parents and their parents. It is still unknown exactly what is contained in those unique building blocks of being. There is some evidence to suggest that traumatic incidents can be passed on to future generations through DNA, which always makes me wonder, if we can pass traumatic experiences forward, can we also pass love and kindness and peace forward through our DNA? We tend not to look for reasons for those kinds of things, but while we do look for reasons for trauma and fear, but I think it would work both ways. So how much of who we are is made up of the experiences of those who came before and the choices they made? Today we honor our ancestors for the gifts and lessons they have given us. We are matter. We are memory. We are our ancestors. And there is still more. As we live, we learn and grow and become something new. We learn by experimenting, observing others, studying, thinking, analyzing. As we do all of these things, we create ourselves. We try new things, we succeed, we fail, we hear new ideas. We synthesize them into who we are, or we don't. We discover new perspectives and broaden our understanding. We create art and relationship, some good, some maybe not so good. And for all of those people who have shared their lives and truth, all of those people from whom we have learned, we give thanks today. Through all of these things, we learn about who we are and who we want to be. We shape ourselves into the best person we can be. We continually recreate ourselves from matter, from memories, from the lives of our ancestors, and from the lessons we learn as we live our lives. That's where we come from. That's what we are. At least that's my perspective today. I may learn differently tomorrow. So may it be. Today, we honor those who have died. So many of us have lost parents, grandparents, siblings, close friends, other family members, all part of this wide interconnected web of loss and life. We may not be able to offer a eulogy for each person today, but we can say their names. And in speaking their names, we remember them, how they have impacted our lives, and share our love for them with each other. In a few moments, you'll be invited to come up to this table of memory to say the name of friends and family you have lost, and put a pinch of salt in the bowl of water for them. If you're not ready to say their names out loud and just wish to remember them silently with this ritual of salt and water, that's okay too. Salt and water are reminiscent of the tears that we cry in our loss, our love, our grief. They are a release of pressure. We often feel better after we've shed a tear. We hope that through today's tears, we can experience the healing that we need through this symbolic act. Once salt dissolves in water, we can't see it anymore. It's still with us in some ways and gone in others. Just like we carry our loved ones in our hearts, even as we don't see them physically present in our lives anymore. So when you're ready, you're invited to come up to the side table, write the name of your loved ones on a leaf, and I'm gonna warn you, the leaves got a lot drier than I thought they would, so they're very crumbly, so you may not actually be able to write the whole name, but trust me, the universe will know what it is that you meant if it's just a mark, or if you just want to bring a leaf without a name. Then bring your leaves, set them on the center table, and say the names of your loved ones into the microphone. Then add a pinch of salt to the water. After the service, we will return these leaves to the earth outside in our memorial garden. And if you're joining us online, please feel free to share the names of your loved ones in the chat. Matthew and Trisha. Verna and Cheryl.
The Reverend Stephen Protzman.
Rabbi Howard Berman.
My mother, Marjorie Bruce.
Aunt Sue and my mother, Beth.
My dad, Bob Ross, and my sisters, Mimi and Allison.
My dad, Dr. Earl Laughlin, my mother, Mildred Laughlin.
Henry Dean Noyes.
Dick and Evie Levine, Nancy and Lars Levine, my family.
My parents, Reverend Victor Schult, my mother, Ruth Schult, and my brother David Schult.
My mom and dad, Gertrude and Ray.
My mom and dad, Charlotte and John.
My friend, Dave Tolliver.
A friend, Bev. A friend, Edie. And a beloved cousin, Karen.
Dad, Jeff Cook.
Toast and Holly.
Beloved friends and relatives, John Gerber, Judy Schultz.
Marilyn and John Genowan.
My sister Maureen.
Brother Richard and my daughter-in-law Nicole.
My sister and brother-in-law, Sally and Jim Lindbergh, and my partner, Carolyn.
Peggy, Matt, Leroy, and Manny.
My sister, Princess.
My parents, John and Ellen Baraka, and in-laws, Tom Milburn and a dedicated Unitarian, Joanne Milburn.
My mom and dad, Isabel and Earl Salterberg, and Gordon and Faye Strayer.
Bueno, soy mi madre, Cristina Ningüeña Hernández.
Dad and Felipe.
Cheryl Jane Mercer.
Alan Levitt, Tim Thompson, Carrie Bell.
My wife, Lois Polton Olson.
My mom and dad, Arlen and Mary Chandler, and my cousin Jan.
What is remembered lives. Even with the passage of time, there are moments that we may find ourselves grieving anew or simply thinking of a loved one lost. Please respond to each statement I read by saying we remember them. In the rising sun and at its going down, we remember them. In the blowing of the wind and the chill of winter, we remember them. In the opening of the buds and in the rebirth of spring, we remember them. In the blueness of the skies and in the warmth of summer, we remember them. In the rustling of leaves and in the beauty of autumn, we remember them. In the beginning of the year and when it ends, we remember them. When we are weary and in need of strength, we remember them. When we are lost and sick at heart, we remember them. When we have decisions that are difficult to make, we remember them. When we have joys that we yearn to share, we remember them. When we have achievements that are based on theirs, we remember them. For as long as we live, they too will live, for they are now a part of us, as we remember them. So as we remember our ancestors, we've learned about where we come from, what we are, and now we can look forward. Where are we going? All of those things that have made us who we are up to this point, the physical matter which we share with the world, the mix of memories and experiences that are ours alone, the gifts from our ancestors that make up our very beings, and all of the learnings we have done. All of those things give each of us a unique perspective. No one else has the same mix of matter, memory, ancestry, and learning as you. You are the only one who can see the universe from your exact perspective. You have insights and gifts to share that no one else can. So where are we going? Some of where we are going is decided for us. Those who have come before us have influenced the matter, memory, genetics, and experiences that make up some of our time. Our physical environment was created before we were born. Other people's actions play prominently in our memories. Our DNA is made up of characteristics and possibly even the experiences of our ancestors. We've learned from the ideas and creations of others, and all of this affects where we are going. But some of where we are going, we create on our own. We can choose what we create and put into the world. We can affect the physical environment for those that come after us. We can continue to pollute and contaminate our natural world, or we can work to care for it and help it flourish. We can do the work of repair, or we can choose not to. Our choices will change the very matter that makes up the bodies of those who come after us. We can also affect the memories of the precious beings with whom we come into contact. These memories that we make with others don't just change us, they alter the lives of all of us. And we have some power over those experiences. We can make positive memories or negative ones. We can pass on negative patterns from our past, or we can do the work of healing and pass on compassion that we learn from doing so. We can choose our values. We can practice living lives of loving kindness and spread joy and restoration. And who knows, maybe this will even change the genetic material we pass on to our descendants. Some of where we are going, we decide together. Some things are too big for one person to change. Sometimes we need to come together as one and work to make big changes. For example, we can individually work to weed out our internal bias and ways that we have internalized oppressions. But in order to truly dismantle systemic injustices, we need to put a whole lot of people together and put in a whole lot of work. And that's why we gather here. That is why we do church. We come together, we share our individual gifts, perspectives, and ideas. We learn from one another, and we work together for change. We must try to be the best ancestors we can, because one day we'll be gone. What will our legacy be? What are the memories people will share about us? Will we have shared our one-of-a-kind gifts and talents and perspectives with the world? It's up to us where we are going. And that's a lot. But we can do it. I believe in us. We will be amazing ancestors. So may it be.
One way of being a great ancestor is to support UUS and to ensure our ability to live our values into the world in the coming year and in the future. We have a stewardship update from Liz Swanson.
Thanks, Marcia. Liz Swanson, in my 70s, wearing my traditional black. And my pronouns are she and her. This society has a very unique history, as Diana has shared, and Bridget as well. If we do not reflect on our history, including our ancestry, then we don't know who we are in the present nor where we are going in the future. The examples they have set for us forms in a large part how we live out our lives within the society. I would like to reflect on a few historical happenings I read while I was preparing for these brief remarks. These statements reminded me of our continued commitment to others and to our stewardship theme of committed to caring. In February 2nd, 2017, an article was published in the Little Village magazine by Emma Huser entitled "Church Holds a Century of Iowa City History. Its future, in part, is part of a proposed development." And that serves for my comments. The story starts on October 24th, 1908. The congregation led a dedication ceremony to the new building at 10 South Gilbert. And as we all know, it was occupied for the next 109 years. The address was given by Reverend Eleanor E. Gordon, the Secretary of the State Unitarian Conference of Iowa. In her remarks, and I quote, "I believe that from this pulpit and from these pews will go forth an influence that will make for honor in politics, truth-telling in business, justice in the home, and the high ideals of human obligation and responsibility hereafter." Gordon's dedication speech also addressed the students who came to the University of Iowa, and I paraphrase, that she hoped that they would lose themselves in unselfish work for others. Again, we are currently committed to caring for others within our society and the wider community. Another meaningful comment was contributed by Jeanette Carter, who at that time was a part of the church's historical records group, and I'm paraphrasing. Prior to the civil rights movement, Jeanette stated that members of the Unitarian Universalist Society took leadership roles in the community to encourage integration. Jeanette continues, "In the 1970s, the Unitarian Universalist Church reminded the community that their doors were open to the LGBTQ community. And I quote, "For many years, our church at 10 South Gilbert was the only place where LGBTQ people could have dances and parties." She continues, and I quote, "The church has worked to live up to these ideals, going to great lengths to push for a more inclusive community, both within the church and in the Iowa City community at large." Learning from our history is a wonderful way to ground us in the life of the society within the greater context and place. It ensures that our heritage and traditions are passed down, fostering a sense of community and connection. Although our conditions are different with an award-winning building, our values and principles are based on our campaign theme, committed to caring for individuals within our society and the larger community. At this time, the Stewardship Committee would like to update you on all the pledges made to date. 116 households have pledged. With the matching funds, sustaining pledges, and those new pledges, The amount committed to our society at this point is $297,960.40. It is 74.5% of our goal. As we move into 2025, what are the messages of caring we will convey to the next generations? From a very practical point of view, in part, it depends on the financial resources we commit this year and years to come. Thank you to all of those who have pledged and who will pledge to advance our society for the betterment of the next generations.
Our community partner agency this month is the Domestic Violence Intervention Program, or DVIP. DVIP provides comprehensive support and advocacy services to victims and survivors of domestic violence, dating violence, stalking, and human trafficking, focusing on immediate and long-term safety, empowerment, dignity, and hope. Services include a 24-hour hotline, in-person advocacy, criminal justice and economic support, and 3 emergency shelters with kennel services, peer counseling, therapy, support groups, and more. In the sanctuary, the ushers will collect the offering. All cash contributions go directly to our community partner. You can follow the instructions on the screen to give online, and if you're writing a check, please use the memo line to designate the purpose. In addition to assisting our community partner, you may contribute towards your pledge or make a gift to support our operating expenses. The offering is a sign of commitment to this free congregation, which is completely supported by the generosity of all who join us. As we give and receive the offering, may we be transformed by our giving, and may the world be transformed by our gifts. And before we close today, I believe our youth have some items to add to the altar as well. Come on up. Thank you. May what has been shared today help us more fully honor the memories of our ancestors and help us look forward to our future. Immediately after the service, we will take the leaves from the remembrance altar outside and place them in the memorial garden. You're welcome to attend this ritual or gather in the fellowship hall and outside for conversation and community. If you are a newcomer, we hope you'll grab a snack and then sit down at any table so folks can join you for some conversation. For those who would like to share their joys or sorrows in conversation in a smaller venue, Pastoral Care Associates will be leading a Compassionate Connection Circle in the Walnut Room immediately following today's worship service. As we sing our closing hymn, please keep all of these people in mind. And may we remember that our children today, that are here today, are not just the future of our faith. They are our faith, and we can learn at least as much from them as they do from us about what it means to live our shared values. Please join in singing hymn number 1051, We Are.
Please rise in body or in spirit. Each child that's born, a morning star rises and sings to the universe who we are. For each child that's born, a morning star rises and sings to the universe who we are. We are our grandmother's prayers, and we are our grandfather's dreamings. We are the breath of our ancestors. We are the Spirit of God, our mothers of courage and fathers of time. We are daughters of dust and the son of great visions. We're sisters of mercy and brothers of love. We are lovers of life and the builders of nations. We're seekers of truth and keepers of faith. We are makers of peace and the wisdom of ages. We are our grandmother's prayers, and we are our grandfather's dreamings. We are the breath of our ancestors. We are the Spirit of God. For each child that's born, a morning star rises and sings to the universe who we are. For each child that's born, a morning star rises and sings to the universe who we are.
Please join me in the words for extinguishing the chalice. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. All these we carry in our hearts and our minds until we are together again.
As we go forth into the world today, May we remember the gifts of our ancestors. May we forever remember their impact on our lives. And may we strive to be the best ancestors we can be for all of those who come after us. May it be so.